Hi, this is Greg from OnlineLanguageAcademy.com, and in this video you are going to learn some advice on how to improve your listening skills in English. All right, and we have a special guest on the show today. She is another online English teacher who knows a lot about this topic. So let's say hello to Amy from RealEnglishConversations.com. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Greg. Thanks for having me here on the video. How are you doing today?
Good, great, thanks. It's great to have you here. Thanks for your time. Hey, do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, sure. I am a Canadian, but I have relocated to a much warmer climate in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Luckily, because I'm an online teacher, I can work from anywhere. So here's where I am. What I do on my website is I help people to improve their fluency with speaking and improve their listening skills once they already have an intermediate or advanced level. So, tips and advice and activities that you can do to really speak confidently and communicate in English.
Okay, brilliant. All right. Well, if you are new to this channel, I'm Greg. I'm the owner of Online Language Academy, and we help students reach a high level of spoken English, and we do that via conversations via Skype. So hey, if you want to become a confident, advanced speaker of English, subscribe to Amy's YouTube channel and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want the best tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. Right?
Awesome.
All right.
I think
Okay.
we can both help.
I'm pretty sure we can. Great.
Mhm.
Well, okay. So we're going to talk about our personal experiences, right? And then we'll talk a little bit about advice that we're going to give you, the viewers, on how you can improve your listening skills in English. So Amy, you live in Mexico now. Have you lived in any other foreign countries? Have you spent time in any other foreign countries?
I have a little bit of a travel addiction, and because I've been actively learning Spanish for a long time, I've tried to combine the countries that I want to travel to make sure that they speak Spanish. So I've traveled to all sorts of different countries in Central America and in South America, a couple down there.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's living in a Spanish speaking country is a little bit different, but traveling to them was a really fun experience when you're kind of in that intermediate level and thinking that you know what you're doing
Yeah.
until you actually arrive.
Yeah, I mean, what level of what? So, I mean, you're in Mexico now. How long have you been living in Mexico?
Oh, I've only been here about 5 months,
All right,
but
five.
I have been here for 5 months now.
And how was your Spanish before you arrived?
Uh, I would say that I'm probably at a pretty high advanced level right now.
Okay.
I I was I've been at about the same level for the last year. I have the same challenges I think that most of our learners experience,
Hmm.
having a busy life and, not having 24 hours a day to be practicing and stalking native speakers outside of my front door.
Yeah, yeah,
for conversation practice. But it definitely is helpful living here and being able to interact with people almost every day, at least for a few minutes.
yeah, yeah. It's. I mean, I I've lived in France. French was my first foreign language. Italian was my second. Spanish was my third. But it's now my best foreign language because I lived in France for 1 year and then I lived in Spain for 8 years, more or less. And my wife is Spanish, which helped
Oh,
a
that
lot.
would be pretty helpful. You would have the native speaker police to help
Yeah,
you out, right?
absolutely, without doubt. It's the best way to improve your spoken language is to get a boyfriend or girlfriend of that nationality, without doubt. But hey, it's not possible for everyone.
No,
But
no. I guess
so
the second best thing is maybe moving to another country
uh,
and spending some time. But again, that's a really difficult option for a lot of people. So
yeah,
we're very fortunate.
absolutely, absolutely. So
Hmm.
I mean, I just think back to when I was learning French, and then I thought my level was okay, intermediate, I would say. And then I watched the TV in French, and I just understood nothing. I mean, it was like one continuous word.
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, is that? Did you feel like that in Spanish?
Yeah, I did. I can think of several different experiences. I think my first check with reality, it's actually a really funny story. So it was my first trip to a Spanish-speaking country, and prior to that, I was subscribed to some online service with some Spanish lessons where you listen to the audio, and then if you're really brave, you might repeat what you hear, learn
Mm.
some new words. They have kind of scripts for different situations. Yeah, okay, I'm ready. I've gotten up to an intermediate level. No,
Yeah.
no, we're like beginner. And so we left the airport. We're driving in our car, me and my husband, I'm talking about when I say we, and we had to get some gas. So my first interaction is trying to get the vehicle filled with gas so that we can continue along our way. But in the process, we were in San Jose, Costa Rica, which is a fairly large city, and there's one-way roads everywhere, and we had gotten lost. And I tried asking for directions, and I remember this wall of sound coming at me from the gas attendant, and I was just like, I don't know. And it resulted in him having a piece of paper like this, and he's drawing pictures, and he was explaining that we had to go across train tracks. So he's like, go up the hill, beep beep, it was very humbling,
Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely. Yeah, that's not intermediate. But it's
No.
it's so it's you're right. It's so different when you're learning, and then when you actually speak to a native speaker. It's like wow. It's such a, as you say, a humbling experience, and I'm sure many of our students and viewers have had that situation where they think, "Oh my word,
Whoa.
I know nothing."
I
Yeah.
might as well have not learned anything. I understood zero.
Exactly. Oh my word, it's the worst. It's the worst.
It
But
is, and I think one of the hardest aspects of it is that you feel embarrassed when that happens, and you can't help it that you don't know, but it's still an embarrassment feeling that you get in that situation.
yeah, absolutely. So, what did you do? I mean, when you were in Colombia, or when you were actually in the Spanish-speaking countries, and what did you actually do to improve your real native
My
listening
real life
skills?
listening skills?
Yeah.
Okay. So there was a couple of things. So what happened was after studying a whole bunch of grammar, because I thought, just like most students, that that's the best way to improve my level and maybe understand more. I decided to have a conversation practice with somebody, an excellent way to really test your level and improve, or live classes if you can't find a native speaker, of course.
Hmm.
And during this conversation, I realized I couldn't understand anything still. So I dropped it down a level to text chat. And through the basic communication that we were having, I realized really quickly that I didn't know the right words. I
All
hadn't
right.
learned everyday words. I had learned textbook Spanish,
Right.
the list of recommended words.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first thing that I did when I made that connection was I started to study conversational Spanish. And that actually taught me very, very quickly, number one, the most common grammar that you see, and number two, the most common words. And that was a game changer. It
Yeah.
absolutely made a huge difference on my level. And then every other aspect of my Spanish went up except my listening. I had a huge listening problem. And, the advice that's online is just to listen to lots of audio.
Yeah.
And I did. I watched movies, I listened to podcasts, I did all of the typical advice that you find. And I just wasn't getting any better. I was hit with that same wall the sound wall, when I
Yeah.
went to Colombia. They have a little bit of a strange accent on the north coast of Colombia, and I was shocked how little I understood. Maybe 20% of the people, and I had an advanced level. So that right there shows me there's some serious problem happening with my listening. So what I really found to be helpful was using some transcriptions with audio, not being afraid to slow it down as much as I needed to. It's not that you're stupid for not being able to hear the
Mm.
audio, or you shouldn't feel embarrassed or bad. It's like your ears are not detecting the sounds properly. And I really needed to train my ears to listen and pay attention, and to make sure that those sounds I was hearing, they had a meaning, and they could not be ignored,
Yeah.
because it was really essential in understanding what I could hear. So I actually just, yeah, with transcriptions, I would read and listen anytime I started to become comfortable with that. I would stop reading the transcription, just listen.
And you can read the
Second,
same, listen with the transcription and then listen again without the
without,
transcription, so you know what
absolutely.
to expect. That's
Yeah, and the real test is when you're not reading the transcription and you realize instantly, I didn't hear that. Wait a
mm,
minute. And you can go back and listen to the audio again and again until you really tell your ears, hey, that is that word or that sound. And it might kind of seem, that technique, it might seem tedious or difficult, and like it would take a very, very long time. But it's the same sound patterns throughout the language. So when you train your ears once, it starts to hear everything.
yeah. And I think using that technique, it's people listen to the radio all the time, listen to English music so often, and
Hmm.
I think a lot of the time people actually want to sing they want to sing along, they want to sing with
Yeah.
the song, and sometimes they hear the sounds and they sing along, but they've no idea of the words they're
What they're
singing.
singing?
and and I gotta say, a couple of friends or students of mine who are Spanish, um, a couple in particular that I'm thinking of who have a very good pronunciation and good
Yeah.
listening skills. They listen to music. They really really want to make an effort to sing exactly like the singer is singing,
Yeah.
and so they make an effort. They read the song with the lyrics,
Hmm.
and then they sing along. They sing then eventually without looking at the lyrics, and it's a great way to
Have you
improve.
ever practiced singing and learning?
Yeah, totally.
Me
Yeah,
too. I love it.
yeah.
I think it's like the funnest way to learn ever.
It's amazing because you don't just learn. Yeah, you're going to learn some new vocabulary, but the best thing is
Yeah.
how words link in to one
Hmm.
another, and
And
that is
the
so good.
rhythm of
Hmm.
speaking. Yeah. And
Yeah,
also it's like training for your tongue and your mouth to be able to make those sounds really quickly at the same time
yeah,
that they are in the song. So
yeah,
yeah, it's
exactly.
fun.
Because it is. I mean, it is really. Some songs they sing really really quickly, but yeah, if you can get that, if you can speak at the speed that they're singing, and
You're
I
doing
remember when
so
I was doing that in Spanish, thinking how can I get 5 words into, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 notes. I thought, how is that possible? But once you hear how they're singing it and hear
Yeah.
the link, then
Hmm.
it's great. And then of course, when you listen to people speaking in the street, natives speaking, then you're gonna be
You
more
have
used
that
to
connection.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've actually, for learning songs and talking about those really, really difficult parts where you have several words that are put together, um, slowing down little bit weird, but it really shows you how it's said. Because you might be looking at the words on a screen and you're going, they are not saying that. There's no way.
Yeah.
But when you slow it down, you hear how they're blended together, and it really makes a big difference.
Yeah. How do you
Uh,
slow it down? Do you use any software to slow?
yeah, actually, I'm sure we can put a link up on the video here,
Mm.
but I've recorded a little tutorial that uses an audio editing software called Audacity.
Oh yeah, I know it.
It's amazing for listening training and also doing shadowing exercises because you can slow down any audio you want and bring it to a comfortable speed for repeating or listening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, shadow. Just explain what you mean by shadowing
Oh,
exercises.
shadowing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So shadowing is okay. So normally, if you type into Google English shadowing, you're going to find a whole bunch of resources and exercises and explanations. And what it is you're listening to audio and you're trying to repeat it at the same time. Obviously, it's useful to have transcription or some subtitles that you can read while you're doing it. But when you're a learner, it's insanely difficult to speak at the speed of a native speaker. And I tried doing the activity originally, and after maybe 45 minutes of trying to repeat two sentences, I was like, this is impossible. Who's recommending this? This is horrible. And I decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to slow down the audio to bring it to a point where I can repeat it properly because I really noticed that my pronunciation was suffering during this attempt to practice speaking.
Okay.
And if you're doing shadowing, you're usually trying to do it have a better accent.
Yeah.
So you're mimicking the audio and repeating it at the same time with the same tone, the same rhythm. But when it's too fast, it's too hard. So if you slow it down a little bit, you can really focus on the accent and really develop that.
Okay. Yeah. And then once you get better, you can speed it up and little by little
Yeah.
get to.
Oh, little by little, and then you're like, hey, I'm like a native speaker.
Yeah. Okay. That's
That's awesome.
that's great. That's a great piece of advice. Shadowing. I mean, I guess it's similar as well to learning a musical instrument. You want to. You don't if you don't start playing at the same speed as the professionals play. You want to go slowly first, and then as you get better and better and better, bring it up to the full
That's
speed.
right. And it happens naturally. It's okay. You can push yourself a little bit to speak faster or to listen to faster audio, but the truth is, as your mouth develops to English, you're going to be speaking faster naturally.
Yeah,
It's just an evolution.
yeah, great.
Mhm.
Okay, so I mean, so we've got shadowing. That's a great way. What else can we do to improve our listening? You mentioned earlier that people, all the advice says, yeah, just put the television on in English or listen to the radio in English. But
Yeah.
I know students who do that. Nowadays it's very easy to just change the audio on the TV so they watch in English all the time. But
Yeah.
this, I think it's quite frustrating for people because they're watching it all the time in English, but their listening doesn't really seem to improve too much.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah. So, yeah, okay, this is definitely something that I'm really, really trying to promote in our lessons right now because I see the same mistakes that people are making. And it's exactly what you said. They're watching TV or they're watching a movie, but they're only watching or listening in this case one time, and that's it. So if, for example, Greg, if you listen to something, I'm sure you've heard an English accent even that you're not familiar with it, or it's a little bit different, or they used a word that you don't know. If somebody was to play you that audio one time and you weren't really paying attention or you were distracted, would you be learning that word that you didn't know?
Yeah. No,
You wouldn't
not at
hear
all.
it.
No, no, no.
So for English learners, there's a lot of words that are
Yeah,
coming at them and they're listening, and maybe they didn't recognize it the first time that they heard it, but they don't stop and listen to it again to see if they can catch it. And if they can't catch it, hey, there's something going on here. Either I don't know the word, or my listening is not working properly and I need to teach my ears to pay attention to it. So it's kind of the same thing, that if everybody listens to audio just one time, there's not an opportunity to learn because you've only been exposed to it one time.
yeah. So do you recommend watching? I mean, the thing is to watch a movie. If you're going to watch a movie, which is 1 hour and a half, would you recommend watching the same movie again, or would we be better focusing on maybe 20-minute episodes
Yeah.
series and watching the same episode once or twice, 3 times, 4 times?
Yeah. So I mean, we all like watching movies and we want to watch it all the way through, whether we understand 100% in the language we're learning or not. It's annoying to stop it over and over.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
But if you can make maybe a trade or a deal with yourself, that if you spend 20 minutes really trying to understand the most you can out of the audio. So play the movie for maybe 1 minute. And if you didn't understand everything perfectly, go back, try to listen to that same minute again, maybe 2, 3, 4 times. And after you've done that listening training a little bit more intensely for 20 minutes or half an hour, whatever amount of time, then you can continue watching the rest of whatever you want to watch.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
So just a little bit more depth in your listening for a portion of your study time is really, really going to help you to develop your listening skills 1,000 times faster than just listening
Yeah,
once.
I think I also watch like what I did in French. I remember watch the type of series or or movies that use the language that you want to use. I mean, I was 20, 21 when I was living in France, so I used to watch movies about people that age, university students, but watch it in French, so I could hear the type
Yeah.
of slang, the type of
The
language that young
greetings.
boys would use, not
Mhm.
documentaries about animals, because I was not really going to be talking about that to many people.
No.
So I think,
No, I agree. It's very handy to find some phrases that everybody's using,
yeah,
and you do get those in TV series or in movies for
yeah.
sure.
And football, I used to watch football a lot, and soccer. Watch it, listen to the key vocabulary in soccer, so I would be able to then talk about it to my friends
And
the day after.
I think the really nice thing about that is that you have the confidence that people actually use it in the real world,
Hmm.
because you've just heard it in the football game or the soccer game. And when you use it with your friends, you're not using some technical word that nobody ever uses.
Exactly, exactly.
Mhm.
And it's funny what you said earlier about the real, real expressions, because even some common words. I remember the word for work that I
Mhm.
learned both in French and in Spanish. When I went to France, they didn't use the word that I had learned for work, and the
Yes.
same thing in Spanish. And I thought, I'd learned the official words,
Mhm.
and I realized everybody used a different word, and it's such a common word. I thought, what is this? What are they
Yeah.
talking
Why
about?
why are they creating new words?
Yeah,
That's actually something, and our students as well they might feel a little bit frustrated about the different dialects or how each region has a different set of vocabulary and
yeah,
they want to learn it all. Um, for me personally, I think it is really, really interesting to learn the different words, both slang and food and things like that in each country that I go to. It's a little bit frustrating at first because you don't know what anyone's talking about at a restaurant, especially. Um, but it's something that if you learn the universal word or the words like you said you had learned for work, I'm sure if you said that word, the people would understand it,
Yeah,
but it just wasn't the everyday word, so you didn't fit in. You didn't sound like a local.
exactly, exactly. And then when people talk about that, then I had issues. I had problems understanding them. Just a simple sentence like, "Oh, I'm going to work," and
Hmm.
I had a very, very high level of French, and I thought, "What? I'm going to, how can I not understand I'm going to work?"
Yeah.
Um, just because they used a different word. So I think it's definitely important to learn slang words, more common, real expressions. In
Oh, it really helps you to learn a lot more when you're speaking with the native speakers as well. I remember I had some slang training when I went to Colombia, and it was amazing how much that was in the language, and it really helped me to separate the um, just the words people were saying for saying something and words that actually made a difference. So it can really help with your comprehension too.
Yeah. So how did you feel when you started understanding these slang expressions that the Colombians were using?
Well, they were mostly swear words, so I
All
don't
right,
know
okay.
if that was a good thing.
It's useful to learn too. You need to know them.
It happens. At least
Yeah,
you know what someone is saying, right?
yeah. No,
Yeah,
no.
but it was actually really cool. It gives you a sense of being a little bit closer to the culture, I
Yeah,
think, and just one step closer to being able to understand the communication and not feel like such a walking textbook.
yeah,
Because as a learner, you tend to sound you speak in sentences that are very structured and there's no color, there's no flavor to what you're saying. So it helps you to get a little bit closer to sounding more natural when you're communicating.
yeah, yeah. Okay. What about when I know a common problem that students have is they try to understand every single word in a sentence, and imagine the sentence has 10 words. If they don't understand the third word, they panic, and then they're too busy panicking about the third word to understand the rest of the sentence. Um, I mean, do you need to understand every word in a sentence to have
I
good listening skills?
honestly, I don't even think in English I listen to every single word. Um, Maybe I hear it, maybe I can understand it if I'm paying attention, but I really am not focused on every single word that is being said. And I can still understand even if I don't hear every single word.
Yeah,
Context has a lot to do with things. But when it comes to having a conversation in a foreign language that you do not know or understand 100%, guessing based on the words you can hear is absolute survival. If you freeze and panic, or worse, you hear a word and you kind of remember what it means. You think you should know it, and then you're thinking about it, and they're still
yeah, yeah,
maybe 30 words will go by and maybe you would have recognized 10 of those words, but because you were thinking about one, you've completely lost the context
yeah,
of what the person is saying. So I think this is kind of this is the perfectionist listener. I do not have this detail skill, but some people they really need to hear every single word in order to feel like they will be able to understand it, and it's not an essential skill.
it's
I
so
think
counterproductive to do that. I think you've just got to focus on the key words. I mean, you know,
whatever you can understand,
yeah,
really.
yeah. If I said to you,
Something. Yeah,
no, no, I mean,
go ahead.
just to sort of emphasize the fact that you don't need to understand every word. If I said to you, tomorrow come shop me,
Yeah.
you would probably understand, hey, tomorrow do you want to come to the shops with me? You don't need all the little tiny words in the middle. You can guess,
Yeah.
and you might
And
guess wrong,
what I
but
guessed was, do you want to come shopping with me?
there you
So
go.
pretty close.
It's a good game to play, actually.
I
Um,
think so.
yeah, but you might understand something wrong. I remember when I said my wife is Spanish, and when we'd been going out for maybe 2 weeks, we had a small communication problem where I guessed wrong. I guessed that we would meet. I guessed that she was still at the bar, or I guessed that she was not at the bar anymore, when in fact she was still at the bar. I got the wrong word, I guessed wrong, and in the end she was waiting for me, and I was just sitting at home watching football. It wasn't great,
Oh
but
no.
you live and learn. You don't make the same mistake twice usually, but
Yeah, yeah.
but
No,
you've got to
it's
guess.
okay. And I think another way of testing this is a little technique that I think will take the emphasis off hearing and understanding every single word. When you're listening to audio, you can try to just listen for the syllables of the person that's speaking. Don't think about what you're hearing or if you understand it. And the words that you know will stand out immediately and you will understand them without trying. So it's kind of a little exercise where you really start to build the trust with your brain and the vocabulary that you know and realize you don't have to think too hard. So when you're in a conversation and you can't understand everything, you can just listen for the words you know, and then it's just trying to figure out what they probably mean put together
Yeah,
and the expression on the person's face.
yeah, yeah. The expression on a person's face can tell you about 50% of what you need to know. I think a lot of the
Exactly.
time. But yeah,
Mhm.
focus on the words you know, and then little by little, the rest you'll fill them in. Your comprehension will
It will
increase. It
increase.
will.
Yeah, don't
But
worry about it too much. It does happen. Just keep learning, focus on the detail every now and then.
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
what we want is easy communication. And I think if you want to do that, at least at the beginning, just focus on the words you know and guess a little
Yeah,
bit. Context,
it'll
keywords, and a facial expression of the person you're talking to.
it's probably not a life or death situation that you're
No.
having in this conversation, so just it's okay. If you misunderstand, it's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I think some people worry as well, like, oh, they're going to think I'm stupid, or if I say pardon, they're going to get bored of speaking to a foreigner. Did you ever feel that way?
A little bit. I've learned a few lessons about okay, so sometimes someone says something to you, particularly when they ask you a question. If they're
Mm,
talking and you're going, uh-huh, uh-huh, and then that turns into a question and they stop and you have no idea they just asked you a question,
yeah.
that is the worst feeling ever.
You want a hole to appear in the ground, and you want to just
Just to
disappear.
disappear.
Yeah,
It is so embarrassing. So it's actually a lot better if they say one sentence and maybe you don't understand and you say, uh-huh, and then you're looking for the second sentence and you don't understand. No, no, no. You need to say, hey, excuse me, could you repeat that? I didn't hear.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
so important, and it's not embarrassing to say pardon. I mean, the fact is probably if you say pardon, probably your level of English. If you're speaking English as a foreign language, and you say pardon, your level of English is probably much better than their level of your mother tongue. So you're making the effort. You're speaking a second language, which is great. Uh, don't be afraid to say pardon. It's
And
no
I
shame.
guess the other side of it is how do you feel if you're talking to someone and they don't understand what you're saying? It doesn't make the speaker feel very good either. So it's really important to make sure that both people are trying to understand each other because that's what the communication is about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So just ask them to say, hey, can you speak a little bit slower, please?
Yeah,
English
I
isn't my
really
first
want to
language.
understand you,
Yeah,
but you
yeah,
speak really fast. Can you talk a little slower?
yeah. And they should. You should have no shame in saying that. Just be confident in the fact that, hey, you're making the effort to speak a different language, so they should make the effort to speak a little bit slower for you. There's
Yeah.
no shame in that.
I wonder, have you had the experience that I'm thinking of right now, where if you're speaking to someone who has learned another language as an adult, that they speak to you a little bit differently than a native speaker who only speaks the one language?
Yeah, absolutely, totally. It's so much easier. So
Yes.
much easier. Um,
Mhm.
and, and and I think, yeah, I mean, it's just it's almost like they don't know how to grade their language. They don't know how to make their language simpler.
Easy.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
I've had some really complicated situations that I've needed to do, particularly over the phone. Because you can't read the expression, and maybe if I am here in Mexico and I have a problem with my internet and I need to explain something and I don't even know the words in English how to explain this,
yeah,
I've had to say to the person on the other side of the phone, "Hey, I need you to talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old.
yeah,
Just a little
yeah,
kid. Talk to me very simply and I will understand you." And it's okay. Native speakers that have never learned anything else, they don't know and they speak freely.
yeah. I actually heard once. I'm not sure if it's true or not, but I heard that English people naturally, if they want to speak simple English, they will try to use short words, and this includes lots of phrasal verbs, unfortunately. So, if an English person who isn't familiar with a different language, if they try to speak simple English, they'll use a lot of phrasal verbs instead of the longer, more formal alternative, which unfortunately is probably the more similar word to
To another
Spanish or
language.
French or Italian. Yeah, yeah. So
Absolutely.
so it's a bit
It's really confusing.
bit unfortunate.
That's true.
Yeah.
Good point.
So what about I mean you podcasts as well? Could we? I know you have a podcast, don't you? Is that a good way to improve your listening skills, or do you mainly focus on just teaching new vocabulary?
Uh, Podcasts are a great way to improve your listening skills. I
Yeah,
think that when you remove the video aspect, like if you're watching YouTube videos, you can read our facial expressions
yeah,
and what we're saying. But when you take away that element and you're only listening with your ears, I think that it's a really great way to just focus on that skill and try to see how much you can
yeah.
hear and understand for sure.
I agree. We have some students via Skype who say, I mean, it's obvious it's nice to see the person you're talking to, but if they need to really improve their listening skills because they use it on the phone in business, they'll often say, hey, turn your video off because I really want to focus on just on the voice, just on improving my listening skills. And I think it is one of the most difficult things to do. Just listen with no facial expressions, no visual context. But it's great practice.
It is, especially out of context, different phrases where you're not expecting the
Hmm.
next phrase. And, it happens in conversation sometimes, but usually the conversation has a bit of a flow and you go from this topic and you start talking about this one and it goes to the next one. But just to hear a random phrase, think about what it means, that's a challenge.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, right. Yeah. Anything else? Any other techniques that people, students, our viewers can use to improve their listening skills?
Improve their listening skills. Well, I think that the transcriptions are a really, really big part. Instead of having to guess what you're hearing all the time, it's really important to have some sort of video or audio that has the words written down. It can really help you to build your vocabulary from that audio, and that's really helpful. I think that live conversations with someone else, whether it's a native speaker or a practice partner, just to be able to have that spontaneous conversation
Hmm.
is really, really important.
I think it
Um,
builds confidence as well.
it does.
That's what I notice in the Skype classes at the beginning. In the first class, a lot of students will be really, really nervous. And I think the thing they're most nervous about is not understanding the teacher. But after
Yes.
a few classes, they start to believe in their ability a bit more and start to be confident that, hey, okay, it doesn't matter if I don't understand 100%. I can say pardon and they'll repeat it. It's not a big deal. So the
Yeah.
confidence is definitely important.
Yeah, in both speaking and listening,
Yeah,
building your
absolutely.
confidence however you can. And it, I think a big advantage, even for people if they're considering doing some practice conversation lessons with you, for example, and they think, oh, well, I can't commit to doing it all the time, maybe 3 or 4 times a week, and they think they have to do this big investment.
Mm.
That's fine. Do maybe twice a month or something like that. And on that every second week, you're doing it for confidence to make sure that you can understand that native speaker and you're actually able to have a conversation. And then you're working your butt off in between trying to improve your listening
Yeah,
skills
yeah,
to do the next test. Whatever you can do to build that confidence and make sure that you feel like you're not just learning English, you're actually learning a language for communication and you have the skills to be able to communicate properly. I
yeah.
think that's the most important thing for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a fun thing to learn. It really is. I remember at university when I lived with, I studied French and did Spanish also at university. And I remember during exam time, I remember one specific moment where my housemate, he was studying law. He had a big book about this thick, and he was, revising for an exam he had on Friday.
Yeah.
And I said, I had exams too that week, and I said, all right, see ya. I'm just going to the party. He said, what? Don't you have exams? I said, yeah. I got my French speaking exam next Monday, so I'm going to go to the party, meet
Practice.
some French people, speak to them, and that's my studies. So it's a fun thing to study, and it should be that way. It should be communicative
It is.
and a fun thing. It shouldn't be bookish. It shouldn't be just looking through a book. You're not going to improve your
Yeah.
communication skills like
I
that.
think it's so important to keep your motivation high and make sure that you're focusing on activities that you enjoy. Like, you do have to sometimes balance the 100% fun with a little bit of learnings,
Yeah,
maybe some grammar rules, or really diving into improving your speaking or listening in certain areas. But for the most part, you just want to keep it fun and
yeah,
make sure that the progression continues. And the more advanced you get, the more fun the language becomes,
yeah.
of course. It's like movies and audio and friends, and
Yeah,
it's entertainment, really.
it is. Yeah.
Mm,
Okay.
it's awesome.
Great. All right. And okay, let's wrap it up. Okay, let's finish it. Amy, just tell our viewers where we can find you. How can we follow you online?
Okay, perfect. So, as you mentioned before, I do have a podcast and we have a website as well that I mentioned at the beginning. It's www.realenglishconversations.com. So, the two podcasts that we have are one is a conversation podcast where myself and my husband Curtis, we record different topics, conversations about different topics, long conversations, maybe 15 or 20 minutes long, completely unscripted so that you can
Okay.
have an opportunity to hear natural conversation.
Great.
We don't even edit the audio. We keep the ums and ahs and all of that natural conversational feel to it. And the second podcast that we have is called the English Phrasal Verb Podcast. And you can get some short lessons, try to pick up a phrasal verb here and there,
Mm-hmm.
and build your skills there. But most importantly, I think anybody coming to the website should definitely sign up for our email list and get access to some of the free lessons that we send out to help you with your speaking and listening skills.
Okay.
So,
Great stuff. All right. Superb. Oh, are you on any social media as well?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
all you can access. Well, we'll make sure that we put a link up to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and right through our website at the very top, you'll see the social media icons for Facebook, Twitter, and Google Plus. So you can follow us on whichever platform you like.
Okay. Superb. So there you go. All right. 2 YouTube channels to subscribe to. So just click subscribe in the
Yes.
descriptions, or on, yeah, if you're watching on my channel, you can click down there, I think, for
Yeah.
the for the
Go like
YouTube.
this.
Yeah, little
Click
subscribe
on
icon.
both buttons. Subscribe to both.
Yeah.
There's no war here.
No, absolutely not. Subscribe to both YouTube channels, and yeah, as Amy said, she's got a great ebook, and her podcasts are great,
And
so check those out.
And what about for the people that are watching on my YouTube channel, Greg?
Mhm.
Do they have anything that they can sign up for at your website and your social media platforms?
Yeah, okay, so we have my YouTube channel where I do 3 videos every week. I do Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And yeah, the website is onlinelanguageacademy.com. So we offer a free class, a free meet a teacher, practice your English for 15 minutes with one of our native English teachers. And you can sign up for more information on how to get that free class by clicking the link. We'll put the link in the description. Okay,
Awesome.
online
And you do
languageacademy.com.
languageacademy.com.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah.
And you have um, the American English teachers and also British English teachers as well.
Yeah, we have American, we have British English teachers, we have Irish, Canadian, South
Oh, wow.
African. If yeah, everybody. So you can. I mean, that's a really great thing that we offer to improve listening, to improve your listening skills, is by trying different teachers. You know, you can have one class with an American, one class with a British. You can try, an Irish, which is very different as well. So just trying different accents, it kind of trains your ear to be familiar with different accents, so that you're not solely focused on British, for example, and then you watch
Yes.
almost anything on television, and it's what it's a completely different. It's American, so it's a good way to combine
Yeah,
both.
to diversify your listening skills with different accents,
Oh,
especially in movies. Even
oh,
actors will put on an accent from a different area to try to add to their character. So
yeah,
it's really important to learn more than one.
it is. Yeah, it really is,
Yeah.
and it's fun. I think it's as you said before, it's fun, and it's learning about different cultures and learning about, yeah, life in different countries. It's a fun way to improve, really, to improve your speaking.
Absolutely. That's great. Well, thank you so
Okay.
much for recording this video. I had a really awesome time talking with you, and this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, great. I hope you've enjoyed watching the video, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed hearing 2 different accents, very different
Yes.
accents
hmm
between Amy's and mine. So yeah, thanks again for your time, Amy, and we will hopefully see you again soon.
Yeah, I hope so. We can look forward to doing it in the future.
All right,
Take care.
great
Okay,
stuff. All right,
bye-bye.
bye for now.